Alcoholism is an addiction many people may suffer from or experience in their lives. You probably know someone from your life who experienced or suffers from alcoholism. The Lost Weekend is about a man named Don Burnham suffering from alcoholism and follows his life in just 4 days. It's based on a novel of the same name by Charles Jackson. The film stars Ray Milland, whom blaxploitation fans might know from The Thing with Two Heads, and horror fans might know him from his appearances in 2 Roger Corman films, and many other horror films. Along with Jane Wyman, Billy Wilder directs the film. Milland won an Oscar for his role. Billy Wilder won Best Director and Adapted Screenplay with Charles Brackett, and the film even won Best Picture. The Lost Weekend won the Grand Prix at the Cannes Film Festival. This was before the Palme d'Or was introduced. This is one of 3 films to win the highest awards at Cannes and at the Oscars. Others include Marty and Parasite. At the beginning of the film, we see the city, then zoomed into a small apartment window where we see our main character, Don Burnham. This great opening misleads the viewer to the beginning before the dark turn. He and his brother Wick are planning to go on a trip. It's shown he's a writer due to their conversation. We see him ask his brother to go to the back to look for something. We see Don go to a window where we see the alcohol hanging. This indicates he's an alcoholic. We see Don's girlfriend Helen come in, telling her about a concert and she has nobody to go with. So Don decides to stay behind and let Wick go with her. They say they can catch a later train. They say he can't be alone after what he's been through, and his brother and Helen find alcohol from the window. Don says he forgot it was there. Then Wick dumps the alcohol away. Don's alcohol is gone, and he thinks he has no money left. Helen and Wick leave the apartment, and he's alone. Now we see Don trying to find the money in the room, but it's a challenge for him. He hears a door ring, and it's the cleaning lady. By the tone of his voice,
I ought to change the sheets, and it's my day to vacuum.
Come on Monday.
All right, Mr. Burnham. Is your brother in?
No, he isn't.
What about my...
he's stressed and angry. He later finds $10. This is actually for the cleaning lady. He lies to the lady, telling her,
I'm sorry, Mrs. Foley, it isn't there. You must have forgotten.
Oh, put. I wanted to do some shopping.
Well, you'll get it Monday.
All right, Mr. Burnham.
and she leaves, and Don goes to the liquor store. And the worker tells him he can't sell him any alcohol. When he passes by some people on the street and says hello, the lady whispers and says,
Hello, Mr. Burnham. That's the nice young man who drinks.
This shows that most people around town know about his alcoholism. He goes to the bar, and the bartender Nat says,
Can't be done, Mr. White. Can't? Well, let me guess why. My brother was here, undermining my financial structure.
I didn't tell him nothing about the wristwatch you left, your cufflinks.
Don pays Nat and hands him a shot. We see him talking to another woman, Gloria, a prostitute, which shows her attitude towards him having a crush on him. Don asks for another, but Nat says it's too much. Don says,
It shrinks my liver, doesn't it, Nat? It pickles my kidneys, yes. But what does it do to my mind?
showcasing he knows how dangerous his addiction is. We see a clip later where Don drinks, but the table is shown multiple watermarks, showing he drank 6 shots of alcohol. We see Helen and Wick at the apartment, and Don's not there. They're worried, and later Wick says,
Mean man.
Yes, I do. It's terrible, I know, but I mean it.
For heaven's sake,
Who are we fooling? We've tried everything, haven't we? We've reasoned with him, we've babied him, we've watched him like a hawk. We've tried trusting him.
Wick loses hope. It cuts back to the bar and we see more watermarks on the table. Don realizes he forgot about the trip and it's late and leaves. And it's nighttime. Wick and Helen leave. Don comes back to the apartment room and feels heavy that he's alone fully. The room is dark, showcasing how deep he is into his alcoholism. He sees a note on the door and Don returns to the bar. At first, Nat refuses to give him a drink. They reluctantly decide to give him one. Don tells Nat about a memory he had in the past. In a flashback, Don attends a stage play and sneaks alcohol inside his jacket. Tempted by the cast serving drinks, he loses track of his coat, leading to a confrontation with the worker. He retrieves the coat from a woman who is revealed to be Helen. At first, Don is rude, but they end up sparking an unexpected connection. In the present day at the bar, Don recounts another memory, a nervous encounter with Helen's parents, indicating his fear of judgment. Don leaves and makes a phony excuse to Helen. Helen arrives and sees Don's drink, but Wick takes the blame. Despite Don's drunken state, Helen encourages him to pursue his dreams of writing, leading to a moment of reconciliation and hope which influences him. We can see Don is such a sympathetic character with hope in his life, but in the present he's just a man so deep into alcoholism that there might be no saving himself. After the conversation at the bar, Don proposes another novel to Nat, and he has the motivation to write, and heads back to the apartment. Don starts to write, but he later stops to find alcohol, but he realizes he forgot where he hid it. Don goes to a nightclub, but the bill is too expensive for him. He looks at the people there and decides to take money from a woman whose purse is right next to him. He does this sneakily and goes to the washroom to steal the money. He later gets confronted by the woman and her husband.
Took something.
$10 to be exact.
Why,
Don returns the purse and is told to never return to the nightclub again. We can see here that Don has hit the lowest point in his life. He returns to his apartment drunk and exhausted, and Don sees a shadow of a bottle above the chandelier, which he realizes where he hid the alcohol, and he drinks again. Don wakes up feeling tired, and we can see he's sick and broken now. Don decides upon his typewriter, his most memorable possession. We can see that he's desperate for money. Don goes to the pawn shop, but to his surprise, the pawn shop is closed. A man asks him if he's alright, and asks why it's closed.
Every one of them.
Sure they are. It's Yom Kippur.
It's what?
It's Yom Kippur, a Jewish holiday.
It is?
The man says the pawn shops are closed on that holiday due to them having an agreement. The camera pans to the clock, showcasing that Don has lost track of time. Don goes to the bar intoxicated and drinks only one beer and gets kicked out. Don goes to Gloria's apartment and asks her for money. She says no at first, but he kisses her and embraces her. Don doesn't really care or like Gloria. He only does this just for the money, and Gloria gives him the money. Before Don leaves, he falls down the stairs, and later he wakes up in a ward, and the nurse mocks him. Soon, a violent patient causes havoc, which makes Don escape. Don goes to a liquor store and threatens the owner to take the alcohol without even paying, since he has no money, and leaves. He returns to his apartment to drink. It's now dark. Don wakes up. He sees a bat flying into his apartment. Don is scared to do anything, and the bat eats the rats before him. Another tenant hears him screaming and calls Helen. Helen eventually comes in. We see Don fully grizzled up and scared. He tells her about the hole in the wall, and there's none. He is just hallucinating. Later we see Don leave and takes Helen's coat and pawns it for a gun. Helen knows about what Don has done with her jacket, and she intervenes just as Don is about to end his life with the gun he obtained by pawning her jacket. We can see Don is tired of being a burden to everyone, and a burden to himself. She persuades him against ending his own life, offering him one last drink. Helen expresses her preference for Don to live as an alcoholic rather than dead. As they argue, they're interrupted by a knock on the door.
Who is it? It's me, Mr. Boynton.
And it's Nat. Nat returns Don's typewriter, prompting Helen to remind Don that he is more than just a drunk. Inspired, Don decides to write about his experience over the weekend. He places a cigarette in a shot of alcohol to make it unbearable to drink. This symbolizes that Don has quit for good. The film concludes with Don questioning how many others share his struggle. The film spans 4 days and does not show any title cards. The only way we can truly know what day it is by paying close attention to the characters' conversations and how the scene is changed. In The Lost Weekend, Don Burnham's struggle with addiction reflects universal themes of personal darkness and redemption. In The Lost Weekend, Don's struggle with addiction reflects universal themes of personal darkness and redemption. Don's journey reminds us of capacity for growth and transformation, even in our darkest moments. Through Don's story, the film offers a poignant reflection on the resilience of the human spirit and enduring power of hope.